And now, it's that time of the week once again. Welcome to the Departure Lounge podcast with your host, Tom Whittle, your ticket to the home of aviation podcasts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 84 of the Departure Lounge podcast here on the Departure Lounge YouTube channel. And I hope you are well on this Sunday evening or the night before Halloween. Ooh, and all that spooky stuff, if you're into that. Hope you're doing well. My name is Tom Whittle. We're going to go jump straight into the show by bringing on tonight's guest. He is an upcoming trip reporter here on YouTube. Some very, very good videos. If you haven't seen them and you haven't subscribed, please do so throughout the evening. Let's send some love his way. It is, of course, Dominic, known as NonStop Dom on YouTube. Dom, very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us.
Nice to be on here. Thank you for having me on. That's all I can say, really.
That's all right, no problem. Are you well?
Oh, I'm perfectly fine, thank you. Just got back from a trip just now. Bit tired, but yeah, pretty good. The video was up today. Nothing much else to say on that front, really.
Really good watch if you haven't seen it, because it kind of takes you sort of, at least for me when I was watching it, it really shows what a life of a trip reporter is when things don't particularly go your way.
Yeah, it's not glamorous. You get some trip reporters that like to put out just the good bits, but yeah, it's not really. You do get the flights where you are really tired and exhausted, and that was one of them.
No worries. We'll promote most of it, and we'll show one in the background as the evening, of course, goes on. But first, let's do some very quick housekeeping while we're here. So we are on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter if you want to keep up to date with everything that's happening with the podcast, and of course everything in general. Do follow us on there. Also, we must incredibly stress tomorrow. For anybody that saw last week's pre-recorded episode, tomorrow is the last day that the Cornwall Aviation Heritage Centre is open to the public. We're hoping not for the last time, and I think the petition has actually reached something like 25,000 now, over 25,000 signatures.
Yeah, I've checked it just before.
Please do keep signing so we can get our point across here to the Council of Cornwall, so that they don't take this wonderful thing away from us. And of course, the County of Cornwall. So please sign the petition. We also have a merch shop, which you can find in the description below. You can find t-shirts, mugs, and everything, especially with Christmas being so bloody close around the corner now. Always ideal to buy t-shirts and everything else reasonably priced, at least that's what I think. So do check those out either during the show or afterwards. And of course, to be a guest on the show, all you got to do is drop us a message on any of the social medias, and we'll get you on as soon as we can. I believe that's everything for now. Let's say hello to a few people in the chat. First one, David Bone says, I love Dom's channel. I've watched him for a while now and really enjoy seeing his take on flights from my local airport at Aberdeen. It's a nice start there.
Represent. Good to see a Don's man on.
Yeah. Samuel Taylor Ackroyd, one of our moderators, is excited to see my friend Dom on the show.
Yep, he's the one that got me on.
Other moderator, Serena Riley. Good evening, all. Hope you are all well. So hello to you. MacJet TV Live says, nice BA747 picture. Straight there, only one of its kind in the world, which I have taken by a wonderful photographer who decided to give it to me as a nice little present. So, yeah, and believe it or not, that is you can't see it, but it's the aircraft of the top deck, which is now sitting at Barton Airport in Manchester. So it's a nice little homage to that. So yeah, thank you very much for that one. Sam Taylor says, love the Halloween style. It had to be done. Of course it did.
Absolutely.
It had to be done. Lynn Keeble says, evening everybody. So hello to you, and then I'll run through some names. Jim Gemmell, Simon Brackett is there as well. Good evening to you. Jack Rolls with a very early super chat. Thank you very much, saying happy Halloween and get your trees ready. It's soon. Yes, it certainly is. Certainly is. Very, very soon.
So happy to have like a normal Christmas this year after.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to.
Yeah, the past 2 years for Christmas have been sort of bah humbug for the lot of it.
Enjoyable, but not as enjoyable as now.
Exactly.
Everything's sort of a little bit more normal, sort of thing, which is always good. Rob Brown, Planespoint, hello to you, regular to the show. Hey, Tom, did you get my message via Messenger last week? I don't think I did, unless I haven't checked. And if I haven't checked, that is my fault. I've had a very busy week, so I will make sure I check at some point. Well, if by the end of the evening or not. Yeah, and that's it. That's it for now. Keep getting your comments in. If you do want to follow in Jack's footsteps in giving us a super chat to support the channel, you can. Of course, it's always appreciated, but never forced. And let's get on with this evening's show. So as I said at the top of the show, Dom is a trip reporter. I suppose first sort of real question is, what got you into it?
Depression.
Fair enough.
Basically, I travel a lot. Like that was just my thing. Like ever since I was a teenager, just Ryanair basically and EasyJet got me into like traveling. It was just like as soon as I could, like Skyscanner or something came along, I was finding all the cheap flights and just traveling here, there, and everywhere. And I was working a job for about 7 years or something like that, and it was a shift pattern basically, and it hit away at me and got me a bit depressed. I didn't really have a social life or anything like that, and then COVID came along. I lost that job and I was sitting around for about a year, as everybody was during that first year of COVID, and it was my family and everyone said, why don't you just record your videos, trips, give tips to people, things like that. So that's basically how it started.
So taking advice, and then all of a sudden it's sort of pushed you to kind of do a little bit more as well. We were talking
it's been absolutely cathartic, really. It really has just improved my life so much, just having that thing on the side that you can do when you're not working. It does so much for your mental health and things like that, and yeah, that's basically how I got into it.
Obviously it plays a key part in obviously, like say, the mental health side of things. I often get told I'm an advocate for it, which I'm not. I'm just very passionate on it. But I suppose it's almost like a saving grace then for you, especially with the lockdown sort of situation that happened, that you found this sort of, let's call it a hobby that's turned into something that you enjoy now.
It's everybody needs that one thing that they can just pour their, I don't want to say emotions, but their frustrations and everything into, that is just totally disconnected from family life, from work, from social circles, that they can just jump into and go, whether that's like video games or going to see movies or things like that. But yeah, it just turned out to be my thing.
I believe, if I'm correct, did you start off doing train trips first before?
My first couple of videos were train trips. My first one was because it was the only thing that was open at COVID time, was a heritage railway near where I used to live, near a small town called Keith in Murray in Scotland. Basically, it's a piece of preserved railway. They like to call it the whiskey line because it goes from Keith, which is a huge whiskey town, to Dufftown, which is the capital of whiskey in Scotland. Glenfiddich and Macallan, I don't know if you've heard of those two whiskies. I'm sure everybody has. But that's, yeah, it goes between those two towns, and they're both in Dufftown. It went from Dufftown to Keith. It's only about 10 miles, but yeah, it was £10. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go record a video, edit it, and just see how it gets on. And then after that, it was a case of, yeah, okay, this is pretty good. I got sort of good responses. Didn't have many people commenting on it then. It was only like 5 or 10 people commenting saying, yeah, this is really good. We would like to see more reviews. Like, okay. So then I did the Kyla Loch Alish line, which basically goes from Inverness to the Isle of Skye, or just short of the Isle of Skye. It goes to Kyla Loch Alish, which is the last town on the mainland before you get to the Skye Bridge. Isle of Skye, everybody knows the Isle of Skye. Yeah, did that, and it turned out to be the best video we've ever had on the channel. I think it's closing on 50,000 views so far, so it's not a bad turnout for a 1,000 subscriber channel.
Gets you out there as well, doesn't it? Obviously, we've got people in the chat that have sort of, you know, they're mentioning that they've been subscribed to you and things like that. Did you ever sort of think when making the channel that you'd sort of get as many subs as you've got now? Obviously,
I did. If you go back, way back to some of my pretty cringe-worthy videos before I started doing trip reports and things like that, I started doing things on like daily routines. It was when I basically had pretty bad depression that I was trying to do videos of things that was helping me get through it. And I thought, well, we're in lockdown at the moment, so people must benefit from it. If it's benefiting me, it could benefit some other people. So I started making like tips on like how to do things if you're like one of my videos there is how to get through procrastination, which is something that was affecting me quite a lot. But yeah, if you go right back to the start of that, one of my videos did actually lay out what I would want to achieve if the snowball got going. It was like 1,000 subscribers. I can't remember what I put now, but when I got to 10,000 subscribers, or if I get to 10,000 subscribers, I should say, I'm nowhere near there yet. I would like it to be a bit of a community where people can help each other out and help each other. Like, if say for example, my ideal, my total dream would be for somebody to like make a forum or something like that where somebody could go, right, I want to go to this place. This is my budget. I can't find flights or trains or anything like that, or hotels or something like that, and then someone else could come along and go, oh, I've stayed at this place and it cost X amount, or these flights go to this place and then you can get a train from this place to this place.
Yeah.
That would be my dream, because travel's helped me so much that I just want it to be able to help other people. Really, it's, yeah, in my books it's a beautiful thing. So
it's like a give and take sort of situation, then, isn't it? In terms of, it's obviously it's helped you out, and you kind of just want to give back to,
absolutely,
a potential community in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, you know, you never know. Hard work and everything else. That's what they say anyway. It's hard work and that, and it'll pay off eventually. Did you find that then the confidence that you may have sort of received then from doing these train trips and things like that and putting them onto YouTube sort of spurred you on to go into doing, as we sort of see recently, your plane trips? And
I mean, it always was going to be geared more towards aviation, because that's what I did before COVID, just myself and like if I went with friends or something like that. We went trips everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. It's just like weekend city breaks, really. Because when I started, it was lockdown, COVID, couldn't really travel out of the country without jumping through hoops. So yeah, it was starting off train videos, but it gave me so much confidence in front of camera. I mean, I would encourage everyone to go back and look at my really early trip report videos and then my new ones and see the difference that just doing it constantly gives you. It's anybody that thinks they're not confident in front of camera, which I didn't. If you do it enough and just say, you know what, I'm not going to care what people think or what they say, and just do it. Within 20, 30 videos like myself, you end up, looking at yourself going, I don't actually seem too awkward in front of camera now.
That's kind of like the, I can sort of relate to that with the podcast sort of thing.
Yeah.
For those that have been watching since the very beginning, we used to do just voices, and then I took the decision to kind of do video, which I wasn't too confident with, but now the more I do it, the more easier it gets. And then I find myself, like last week's podcast episode, putting myself on the camera and almost like a vlog style at the same time, which if you've watched it, and all the people that have been very positive about it, I appreciate every comment that I've got from that. So it's kind of once you do it once, and then the rest is kind of, it just falls into place, isn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's consistency, I think, is just the thing that builds that confidence. It's not so much trying to be like the people you see on YouTube, but it's more a case of what's my starting position and how far can I get with X amount of videos.
So with the trip report side of things, I think one of the obvious questions, I guess, is, did you have an inspiration for sort of going towards it? Like, I take it, do you watch any trip reporters of any kind?
Funnily enough, I didn't until people mentioned it to me. The closest thing I'd watched to a trip report was a bit embarrassing, but the closest thing I've watched to a trip report up until that time was when I was about 13. I think it was Syndicate Project, the gaming channel. He used to do vlogs on like flights when he was flying between London and LA, and that's the closest thing I'd watched to a trip report before people mentioned it to me. Funnily enough, I'm actually thinking about changing the name of the channel because that has actually presented its own problem. I found out through comments that there's a very big YouTube channel called NonStop Dom. When I was creating this channel, a lot of people, I was asking for names. I had no clue what to name a YouTube channel, I'll just be honest. And one of my friends said to me, well, why don't you call it NonStop Dom? And I was like, fair enough, it has a good ring to it, I'll do that. And then about 2 months later, I found out that there's this massive YouTube channel called NonStop Dom. So do I need to change the channel now?
Name change is required.
Yeah, so maybe I might change the name of the channel later, but I'm thinking I will put that out to poll. For my viewers to choose the name of the channel, because the channel really is for the viewers. It's not for me. It's done what it needs to do to help me. So everything I do for the channel now is to help the viewers.
It's like, honestly, it's like talking to myself.
Similar journeys, I think.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Let's then sort of dive into some of the trips that you've taken. Obviously, I won't go too much into your recent video, otherwise it will ruin it for people that potentially want to watch.
If people like seeing other people suffer, those who are in the comment section, if you like people suffering, then go and watch that video.
Yeah. After the show, of course. Don't disappear just yet.
Yeah.
But you've allowed us to put one on the background, which I actually watched today, and I thought it was amazing, and it's actually inspired me to want to go to this place. But it's of your trip to Iceland.
Yes.
And a particular trip in particular. I'll bring it up on screen now. Hopefully it'll change our screen. There we go. I'll bring it up now. I'll play in the background. There's no sound, so we'll just let it run. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, this was a last-minute trip to the island of Grimsey in the far north of Iceland. It's actually one of the only inhabited bits of Iceland in the Arctic Circle. And this trip was... Grimsey is a place I've wanted to go for absolutely years. If you watch any of my videos, you know I like going to out-of-the-way places. I don't like visiting like the big tourist hotspots. Grimsey was a place I've wanted to go to for years. Yeah, and so we were there. It was me and my mother, who's mobility disabled. It was actually the first holiday we'd both been on since COVID hit.
Okay.
So we were up in Akureyri. We weren't ever meant to go to Akureyri, but like a lot of people who have, if you know you've had a holiday cancelled or a hotel cancelled because of COVID, they generally give you a voucher. And the hotel we were meant to stay at was in Reykjavik. So it got cancelled. The voucher was valid for 2 years. So we got to 2022. And the only hotel that they had outside of Reykjavik was in Akureyri. So we thought, well, the flights to Akureyri for the both of us return are about £80. So it wasn't too bad. So it's like, we'll take Icelandair from Reykjavik domestic airport up to Akureyri, and we'll use the voucher in their hotel up there. And we were up there. And my mother, she wanted to go and see the art museum. I've been to the art museum myself. It's in one of the other videos. Yeah, I thought, well, if you're going to go there, I will take the morning and go up to Grimsey. I'll see if there's a flight that I can go and come back. And yeah, it was there. It was a reasonable price, so I just booked it. It was a really spontaneous decision. It wasn't planned at all. But yeah, up to Grimsey, it was with Nordlandair. Nordlandair are the original Icelandic airline that uses red, for your friend that likes play airline.
As you mentioned, of course.
of Iceland. But I am actually booked on Play next year in February, so that'll be interesting. Because I don't know if you know, Akureyri Airport is looking like, you can see here, it's got Transavia there from the Netherlands. There's a huge building project going on at Akureyri Airport to turn it into a proper international airport. They're going to have flights from Copenhagen and Tenerife with their own new airline. I mean, this is a town of 15,000 people, and they've started their own international airline. It's pretty insane what they're trying to do up there. It's Nice Air. I don't know if you've heard of it. I'm sure you have. Yeah. And I'm booked on them to come back, so that will be a good video when it comes up. But this video here, it was on a Twin Otter, one of my favorite aircraft ever. Twin Otter. It's such a versatile aircraft. There aren't many aircraft that are as versatile as the Twin Otter. But yeah, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, I think this flight departed. I'm trying to remember. And then it came back at 12:30. So I had about 2 hours on the island. Because it's only a 30-minute flight. It really isn't far at all. But if you actually look at a map, it's really far north of Iceland. There's only about 150 people on the island. They've got 2 hotels that aren't actually hotels. They're just guest houses. Yeah, it's these kind of places I do like to go to. And someone did mention about the pilots here when they take off, about the holding hands. I'm not actually sure on that myself. I believe it's standard practice, but I'm not entirely sure why. You could elaborate on that.
I'm sure somebody might be able to. Of course, the sort of the experience in the airport as a whole, how was that for you?
It's an amazing airport. I love little airports, especially one like this. I mean, the international arrivals thing, the border is just a booth, one booth. And it is in the corner of the domestics arrivals. So that when there's an international flight arriving, they just bring out the barriers and then put them away again once the flight everybody's disembarked, because the entire terminal was just set up as like a regional hub for all the airports around the north of Iceland. So yeah, it's just a tiny airport, but it does feel like an international airport. I mean, it flies to Greenland. I mean, it even flies all the way up to Svalbard, all in the far north of Norway.
Yeah.
It's one of these tiny airports that has quite a big reach that not many people know about. And it's those kind of airports that I do like going to, the ones that nobody really knows about.
I think we've got we got an answer in regards to the hand holding. David Bone says the hand holding is for stability on the throttles.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. In my mind, it was something philosophical, like both pilots had to commit to the takeoff or something like that. But I didn't know what the actual reason was.
But at least we've got the answer there. Now, obviously, from the video titles, this wasn't just a trip that was just made. You went for a specific reason, didn't you?
Yeah, this was puffins. I love sea life. I love is my second passion to traveling. Sea life and puffins. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't love a puffin. Anybody that's watched any David Attenborough documentary loves a puffin.
That's it.
Yeah. So, and this island, there are places in, I don't want to say the more developed world, but the more built up areas of the world where you get puffins, like Scotland and Canada and Norway. Puffins on a cake. Yeah, they eat puffins there, so yeah, that's possibly. But yeah, this island, when I went there, absolute nobody there. It was just me and about 3 million puffins and a million terns that wanted to kill me. Which you see later on in the video. Yeah, there's terns everywhere that yeah, they are vicious. I mean, I was told on a whale watching trip before this, I released that video as well, on a whale watching trip, that terns are known as the Arctic bodyguards. They've been known to ward off polar bears from their nests. And other birds actually nest close to where terns nest because they're that good at warding off like predators. They yeah. So I unfortunately walked down a tractor track instead of the main road, and it walked sort of between, on the left and the right, there was just tern nests everywhere. So they weren't too pleased that I was walking down there between their nests, and they were giving it a proper go, having a go at me.
In terms of obviously we'll leave this video running just sort of in the background and stuff, but in terms of your trip reports and stuff, what would you say, even if you haven't documented them, what would be that sort of the most sort of the top destination on your list if you could go back there time and time again?
If I could go back there time and time again, or I could go there once and do a trip report on it, because I've got an answer for both.
Ooh, go on then. Let's go both. Go on.
Okay. If I could go back there time and time again and do a trip report on it, it would be any of the Arctic regions. I'm a bit weird. I like the cold places on the planet, the places that nobody really visits. Greenland, I would love to go to Greenland and do all the flights that they've got over there, because I don't know if you know Air Greenland. They're also the original Arctic airline that used red before Play Airlines.
Yeah. About to take delivery of their first 330.
Yeah, the Neo. They're about to take delivery of the Neo. My plan is to hopefully get onto the business class of that fairly soon, once I take delivery of it. It's one of the better priced business classes, so hopefully want to make that my first business class video on a airline. But yeah, there's a lot of flights between all the little towns there. I would love to go and do that. I would love to actually finish all of Iceland's airlines. I've done now Icelandair and Nordlandair. I'm going to do Nice Air and Play Airlines, and then the only one left to do after that would be Eagle Air. So
okay,
I would hopefully want to get all of them done. I think that would be a nice thing to be able to say, is like I've flown on all of a country's airlines.
Nice, it's a nice little sort of accolade, I suppose.
Yeah,
it was like a personal challenge at the same time, I suppose.
But for the one that if I could do a trip report on one thing, if I could only do it once, I would be happy. Would be Virgin Galactic, their little space flight. But I'm not wealthy enough to do that.
No, the closest I'm going to get to that is
£50,000 last I checked. I'm not sure if inflation is eaten into that.
No, so the closest I'll get to that is literally seeing it through a fence here at Newquay. So that's the closest I'm going to get to it. Obviously, I've switched the video up now to a video of Ryanair.
This was actually the first ever flight I videoed.
Well, there you go. Obviously, Ryanair have this reputation. Was it sort of inspired by that sort of thing? Was it inspired the reputation to kind of do a video on them? Or is he froze?
Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say the inspiration of the video to do on Ryanair, was that anything to do with
the inspiration of the video? Was I wanted to do a flight. Most of my things have very simple answers, and the flight was £10. Simple as £10. I've been wanting to do flight videos for a while, and the return fare to Brussels was £10.
Can't go wrong. You get what you pay for, I think, with Ryanair.
I wouldn't mind if the plane took off and I was sat on a church pew. I mean, for that price.
Yes,
I tried to be realistic with the amount I pay for a flight. Is how I set my expectations for it generally. I think I don't think there's any other industry in the world where aviation is like, it doesn't matter what price some people pay, they have the same expectation across every single airline. So I do try and moderate myself compared to how much I've actually paid for the ticket. And when you pay £5 each way, the tram ride to the airport cost more. That was about £17.
I think Jack Rolls sums up quite nicely with cheap, and you may have a few smashed teeth, but it's fine.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. A request.
That's what dentists are for.
A request, perhaps, from David Bone says maybe do a trip report on the Videro service from Aberdeen to Stavanger. Then take a trip
with the Videro one, that is actually one I've been keeping an eye on a long time. Because I don't know if what was the commentator's name again? Sorry, I want to address him properly. David Bone. Yes, I don't know if you know this, but Videro actually has used to have, before COVID hit, a summer ticket where you could buy a ticket for 2 weeks and you could take as many flights as you wanted on their route network.
Oh, wow.
They haven't reinstated it yet, but I'm sort of holding off until they do reinstate that, because I would want to get on. They've got every single Q400 going, apart from the 100, I think they've got the 200, the 300, and the 400, and they've got the 190 E2s, the Embraers. And they've just placed an order for an electric aircraft, so that might be interesting. But yeah, if once they reinstate that, I would want to do that rather than just take the flight over to either Bergen or Stavanger. I would want to get the flight from Aberdeen over to Stavanger, Bergen, and then basically explore their route network.
I think that'd be quite interesting, actually, especially if you say like they've got this 2-week ticket sort of thing. It gives you that real opportunity, then, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, before COVID, it was priced at, if my memory serves me, it was a £412, something like that. So, I mean, for the price of a transatlantic ticket, you get as many flights as you want for 2 weeks.
I think that's, for me, I'd pay that for if you could fly as many times. I'd be doing it every day.
Yeah, I believe there have been a couple of trip reports because I've looked it up a couple of times when I saw the ticket, because Aberdeen being my local airport, Aberdeen was the first place when I started doing videos that I started to look at the routes that I could get from Aberdeen. And I believe when I started looking it up, there were a couple of people that have already done the flights with that ticket. They've done something stupid like 13, 14 flights in a week. So yeah, I would recommend it, doing that, but that's what I'm holding off for. Euro-wise.
I'm looking at the comments. Rob Brown's kicked it off early, but I think we should save it for the end. But we'll get it asked anyway. He says, "I will get the food conversation going." It's a staple of this podcast, where it turns into a food podcast. Is Loganair's biggest perk the Tunnock's caramel wafer?
Yes.
Nobody mentioned food till the
There
end.
is a video I've got coming up for anybody that is an Aberdeen flyer. The ATR 72 is an aircraft used by both, is going to be Loganair's mainstay aircraft, but it's also used by another regional airline, Aer Lingus Regional.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I don't know, this is very regional stuff to Aberdeen Airport. There is a new battle starting between Loganair and Aer Lingus on the Dublin route. Both of them have now reduced their fare. Aer Lingus has started up again since COVID hit, so it's their first few flights. Basically, in the past couple of days, they've started up. But both Loganair and Aer Lingus have reduced their flights to £40 each way. So they expect a Ireland versus Scotland video coming up on the ATR 72. So yeah, the Tunnock's wafer, I think, does give them a good advantage, but we'll need to see what Aer Lingus Regional has to offer. I think it's Emerald Airways.
Yeah, they've taken over from the Stobart side of things. So yeah, Emerald. Yeah. It's good to see them back. Actually, it's good to see the ATRs back in the skies. Yeah. Nobody mentioned food until the end. That's when we keep it. This was just a one-off with the caramel wafers. We'll save it to the end, and we might do a competition, actually, see who can get the best question in, but not yet. Don't do it yet. Quick hello to, I saw the name there, Plane Spotting Ringway. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Where's that question gone? There we go. Jack Rolls is asking, have you ever wanted to do the Northern Lights as well as the Lapland trips?
Northern Lights, I'm a bit spoiled, really. My parents' house, they live in Banffshire in the north of Scotland. So basically every other winter night you see the Northern Lights. I have done the Northern Lights prior to starting a YouTube channel. I've got, if you look at my Instagram, I've got some pictures of it there. Yeah, the Northern Lights, I love the Northern Lights. There is one flight I want to take from Edinburgh. There is a tour company that operate I think it's a A319 that they operate, and they do Northern Lights flights from airports across the UK, private charters. And what they basically do is they fly up to the Arctic Circle, loiter for like 2 hours so that you can see the Northern Lights, and then fly back down. I don't know if any of you have seen any of those. I don't know if there's been any trip reports on them, but it's something that I'm keeping an eye on. I missed the booking period for this year from any of the Scottish airports. I think the only one that's still available is Birmingham, but as I've been to Birmingham, goodness knows how many times now. I want to avoid Birmingham a little bit on the channel.
I think it's the same with like Lapland flights as well. I think we get a lot of them going to places like I'm going to probably butcher the names now, but I believe it's Finland. There's one in Ivalo and Rovaniemi.
Rovaniemi, yeah.
Yes, I hopefully I didn't butcher them too much, but yeah, I think Northern Lights would be really, really cool, and I think especially to kind of trip port it, I've not seen a video on it at all on
really?
YouTube. At least I've not come across one, and you know I'm into watching quite a few.
Yeah, the only problem I've had with getting Northern Lights or something like that is when I record stuff for my studio at home. I've just moved to a new flat, so I don't have a studio as of yet. But when I record out, I use things like my little it's like a GoPro, but it's by a company called DJI action cameras that they have. The only problem I have is luggage. I do have a full frame camera, which is really good at recording the Northern Lights, but it's actually painful. I'm a bit tight. I'm paying for luggage. I mean, when airlines charge you like 50 quid for a check-in bag, I'm the sort of person that looks at it and goes, 50 quid, that could go towards another trip, another video for the channel. So I'm very cautious of how I spend my money for the channel. I'm not particularly wealthy. I know a lot of people look at travel reporters and thinks, oh, they must be loaded. It's like, no.
Yeah, we tend not to ask.
Yeah, I'm very, very average wage. Most of being able to travel the way I do is hours and hours and hours of research to try and find the best deals.
Well, that's it. I think a lot of like trip porters and things like that, I think they'll go to like major destinations, things like that. But you don't. I think you put a lot of work into bringing something a little bit different from places that maybe people either wouldn't have known existed or wouldn't have really gone to, sort of thing.
Yeah, I just want to pick up a comment there. Wayne Hartshorn, is it? Yes, Heckler is my favorite 757 livery. Personally, one of my favorite liveries in the world.
Very good shout. Yeah, very good shout. For me, it's that one or the 80 years, I think, because I think that one was.
Oh, the 80. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's either that or are they all hand painted or something?
Yeah, the Heckler one is. Yeah, that's very nice. They've also got one of the volcano that is due to destroy Iceland in a few years' time.
Always a positive reminder.
Yeah. The Icelandic people are brilliant people. They live on a country that just wants to kill them, and they don't care. Yeah,
got to be strong, I think. And
yeah,
it's a country I'd like to visit, preferably before it gets destroyed. Fingers crossed that don't happen, of course. Jack Roll says the closest he's ever got to the Northern Lights is a green screen and a light. Thanks for telling us that, Jack. That's much appreciated. Lay off the Henry Westons. Oh dear. I suppose away from sort of the question and the comments and stuff, obviously we're talking about destinations that are, we're looking at them on screen. They're beautiful. They're really scenic and stuff. Have you ever been disappointed by a place, even after doing research?
That's a tough one. Because I think you can do as much research as you want, but you're never really prepared. I mean, research is good it's like theoretical and actually practical. You can do as much research as you want, but you're never really prepared for people. The people, I find, either make or break a place. I mean, like this video here, the Gdansk, the one that's playing at the moment, Poland, I think a lot of people get this impression of people from Western Europe that they are quite reserved and stoic and serious people. But when you go there, they're the happiest people, some of the happiest people I've ever seen. So that one exceeded expectations, but there are places that I think I tell a lie. I think the one that disappointed me the most was the flight down to Birmingham. And only for one reason. That, don't get me wrong, Birmingham's a lovely city as far as inland places go in the UK. I mean, it's like any other city in the UK. It's got good parts and bad parts, but yeah, on a whole, it's a lovely city. I don't think there's actually a city in the UK where I haven't been surprised how lovely the people are. But I was staying at Ibis Budget when I went to Birmingham Airport for the Flybe video. And I don't know if we can get that up later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried to strike up a conversation in the bar that night with a couple of people, and I got blanked by everyone. Because my EasyJet flight arrived from Glasgow down to Birmingham at about, I can't remember the exact time, but it was mid-afternoon. It was about 3-4 o'clock. And yeah, so had dinner, had lunch, not really much to do. There wasn't much time to go into Birmingham and do stuff. I mean, when you only got like half an afternoon, it's like, it's going to be dark in a minute. So yeah, I just kicked about the airport a bit and then stayed in the hotel, went to the bar, thought, you know what, I'll just try and find someone to chat with. No one would talk with me.
That's us Brits for you.
Yeah.
Don't have time for anybody nowadays. So
yeah. You usually think though a bar is sort of like a safe place where you can go to to fight. If you want something to talk to, you go to a bar. Because that's sort of like what everybody's there to do. They're there to have a drink and talk to people, but no.
It's the normal consensus is, the bar is sometimes a good place to talk to people, but not if you're in Birmingham.
Apparently. Or I'll be fair, Birmingham Airport.
Birmingham Airport, if you're not
it wasn't in Birmingham. I mean, Birmingham Airport is one of those airports that's sort of nowhere near the city.
Yes, it's not. I suppose it's a bit like well, I mean, I go on about it most of the time, but you've got like Southend and stuff that claim the London name, and you think you're not really anywhere near it. But that's another story. Tying in, of course, with like the UK airports and stuff like that. Wayne Hartshawn has asked what your least favorite airport in the UK to fly from is.
My least favorite airport. I know I'm going to get a lot of stick for this, but I'm going to have to say Manchester.
Oh, there we go. Right. Okay, everybody, please calm down.
Gonna have to say Manchester Airport. I have never stood in a queue for longer than at Manchester Airport.
I think that's because there was a period, wasn't there? There was a period where trying to get through Manchester Airport was an absolute nightmare, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. That being said as well, Aberdeen Airport, I know it's my local airport, but for the past 5 years has just been absolutely dreadful because they've had this massive construction project going on and it's been horrendous to go through. I think it actually got voted the worst airport in Scotland. So there you are.
There's not many of them either. So takes some doing.
Yeah.
But no, that's.
I mean, I think that was even compared to the airports in the islands, the little shacks with a runway.
Wayne Hartshawn, controversial. It's the most streamed airport in the UK. It actually is. There's a lot of people now that have decided to go to Manchester Airport and try to claim a little bit of fame. I've seen a couple on Twitter and YouTube today, and the less said about it, the better. I think.
Manchester airport. The only airport where they have one terminal and they describe it as two.
Yeah. Oh dear, I'm glad they're not watching.
Yeah.
Jack Rolls says half the time in the UK, a bar is where most people take their anger out on the football or throw chairs around the room. That's probably just your front room. That's probably just your front room.
You should have seen the rugby yesterday. Scotland and Australia. My father's well into rugby, so I was up there watching the rugby with him.
Never again.
Yeah.
Jim Gemmell, far too many streaming from Manchester. There's only one for me that probably should kind of claim it as their own, but I think people know what that is. And I think we are up to date with the comments. So the video that's on screen right now, of course, was the return of Flybe, which I think a lot of people were quite...
This was one of the videos that sort of blew up the channel from having about 80 subscribers to 1,000.
It's obviously a big deal, wasn't it, to bring Flybe back. Do you think, sort of your opinion, really, because I've got my opinion living in sort of Devon, southwest of England, where sort of Flybe were based and things like that. Do you think that bringing them back to Birmingham was a good idea?
No.
Okay.
I am
I'm intrigued to know why.
I'm very placid in my videos, but if you anybody that knows me, I'm quite an opinionated person.
That's what we like on the channel. Go for it.
Yeah. Birmingham Airport, I think, is one of the bigger airports. It's got every single EasyJet flight going in and out of it that does a regional thing. It should have been somewhere like Southampton Airport or Exeter Airport. I mean, you've just had Sheffield Airport closed, Doncaster Airport. These are regional airports that need an airline like Flybe. I mean, thinking back to the old Flybe, I mean, some airports totally relied on Flybe. I just don't see the reasoning behind the main base being at Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite opinionated when I saw the news that they were coming back to base themselves at Birmingham, and I thought, well, considering we knew the old Flybe as like a connecting, the main word there is connecting, and it connected a lot of Exeter to various places. It's Newquay as well. Newquay suffered big time, and same with Exeter, really, suffering big time with the removal of the old Flybe. And of course, as Simon Brackett says, Flybe started from Newquay today to Manchester and Heathrow. So that's a flight that I'm looking to jump on because I want to get on a Dash 8. That's kind of the main thing for me. Is I want to be able to get on a Dash 8.
Really.
But yeah, back to the video here. Obviously, we can see you being passed a little goodie bag. Did it make sort of the experience that little bit more special for you then?
It was as much as I said I think they made the wrong choice on the bases. The staff were brilliant. I mean, I was talking to the CEO, David Filner. They basically, their whole business model for the new fleet is to recruit the old staff. So you had experienced staff from the get-go, and you could tell it wasn't a new airline. It did feel like an airline coming back from just the dead.
So did nothing felt? I mean, going back to like Dash 8s and stuff like that, obviously they got rid before they sort of went out of business the first time of the Embraer jets and things like that, and going back to like an all Dash 8 sort of thing. Do you think they've maybe learned from that mistake in terms of bringing the jets in?
I think in a way they have, in the sense that they're building up their fleet more slowly. I mean, I've been on Flybe flights since this, and they have been using other airlines as charters for some routes. And I'm not sure if that's just them testing the market on that route, whether they're just getting airlines in before they commit an aircraft to the route. I don't know. But
Well, I think what threw a lot of people off was the leasing of the Embraer 175s from Greek airline Marathon, and I think I think what was strange to a lot of people was they obviously leased a plane that basically ran them dry in terms of funding. I don't know whether it's still happening or not in terms of.
No, they don't have any plans to. From what I've heard, I'm not an official flyby. From what I've heard, they don't have any plans to have jet aircraft again. They're just focusing on basically a one aircraft fleet. Q400, which, as anyone that's studied any budget airline knows, is the best model. If you want to have low fares and a profitable business model. But just back to the point on where they should have been based. If they wanted to be a connecting airline, connecting different destinations across the UK, personally, I would have said Leeds Bradford Airport would have been one of the better airports for them to be based out of. It's a central location. You could connect through to any destination in the UK from there.
Yeah, I can see that, but Leeds could be an interesting one, I suppose. But I suppose for us, sort of here, south of England or southwest sort of thing, we're like, it's ours. Like Flybe's ours. That's kind of what it's like. It's like literally, it's ours.
I mean, Exeter. I think Exeter was their biggest base, wasn't it, before they went?
Well,
back?
Exeter was pretty much the headquarters, and it was kind of pretty much their main base, really. Like I say, as well as obviously providing connecting flights from Newquay to, at the time, Gatwick, which is what I took on the. I've got actually a drawing of it. It's literally back there. I sometimes have it here. The Embraer 195, which was a fantastic flight. One of my favorites, actually, even for a short flight to Gatwick, of I think it's about 45 minutes it took. But one of my favorite flights, and to kind of lose that connection. And I mean, Loganair tried, but I think a lot of people see Loganair as a little bit expensive, which
they are expensive.
Having researched it, they are. And I think the same with Eastern as well. Eastern that have got the Newquay to Gatwick route at the minute. They're a little bit on the pricey side as well. So you kind of miss the. For me, when I did the Gatwick flight to for a return for I think it's about 4 days. I think I was in London, including the travel there and back. It's like 70 quid. That's how much I paid for it. Was 70 quid, which to me was like really, really reasonable. So to lose that and then to potentially have to pay maybe double that, it was crazy because people are trying to connect through various different means of transport as well. So to lose Flybe in that way was difficult. I think it was a very sad day for a lot of people that kind of relied on them, especially for commuting at the same time. To be able to kind of fly up to London for commuting and things like that. It's a big loss.
Just out of curiosity, how long is the train ride? Is it about
same as about driving? If that's about 3.5, 4 hours. To significantly lose a flight to Heathrow, where you can then jump on the tube, or to Gatwick, then you got to jump on a train. You're paying extra to jump on the train or the tube sort of thing. So, and obviously it takes longer. So, I mean, the fact that they've restarted it, and as Simon Brackett says there, sounds about right. £48 single from Heathrow to Newquay with Flybe. That's what you want to be paying. So that's why connections was such a vital thing. So to have that back is a big deal, and I kind of wish that they kind of gone back to, maybe they didn't see it as a profitable idea in the end to kind of base themselves.
I'm not sure. I don't know why they based it at Birmingham, because you would think Birmingham, one of the major airports, international airports. I mean, there's about 6 or 7 in the UK, major international airports. There's going to be a lot of competition from there.
In terms of the fleet we were talking about just then, Simon Brackett again with some really good information saying struggling with the number of aircraft they have to cover the routes. Been long delays waiting for the rest of the fleet to come into service. Are you surprised by how sort of slow that more aircraft are coming?
Yes, they had hoped by, and this was against on this very video that speaking with the CEO, they had hoped that they would have about 12 aircraft in the fleet by now, by the end of 2022, and that doesn't look like it's going to be the case.
No.
Yeah, by the end of 2022, they were hoping for about 12 aircraft, and then by the end of 2023, they were hoping for about 36, 38. I just don't know. It does, the way it's going, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I severely hope that it is the case, but it doesn't look like it's going that way.
No. And I think it's because they've obviously got some the older planes that have been stored for a long time since the
I've been ramming into Loganair aircraft.
Well, there's always controversial, but yeah, at the moment they've only got 7 in service. 6 in service, 1 parked up.
Yeah,
in the future 6.
apparently they've been using airlines from the likes of France, Spain, and Portugal to help fill the. They've been using charter airlines from those countries to help fill the route network that they've.
Yeah, that's it. And what I thought was quite interesting was they were supposed to have taken on. I think it was because Austrian were retiring their Dash 8s and Flybe were jumping in on this, and obviously one came to Exeter. I saw it a couple of times on one of the routes that I did for my old job, and it never went into service. It was only there really to grab the airworthy operational certificate sort of thing.
Oh right, yeah.
And now it's flying in Canada. So so they briefly used that and then decided to pawn it off to another airline and that. And now sort of very slowly trickle some more aircraft into service. I mean, I'm looking on the website now just to go through, and a lot of them are old registrations from the older Flybe and that, but they all just say they're due. But no one knows when. Nobody knows when. But yeah, it's a strange one. But for the 6 that are in service at the moment, if I just go onto that website, have a look. In fact, it's going to ask me to, whatever. All right, that's obviously not going to happen. So yeah, it's an interesting one. We've gone from talking about the channel and everything else to talking about Flybe, which I thought was quite interesting.
A thing that probably nobody knows about this video is during the stay over in Birmingham, I was actually in the same hotel as a lot of the Flybe staff. It was just a Premier Inn centre of Belfast, and well, I got talking to them, and we got absolutely slakered. So between the 2 flights on this video was quite a binge with the Flybe staff, and I did actually get a photo with quite a lot of the staff on the second flight, which is pretty good. I won't post it though. I don't want to put their jobs at jeopardy.
We'll leave it at that, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, for any more videos, of course, like the ones we've showed, I'm not going to show too many because otherwise, like I say, it will ruin it. And I want people to go onto the channel, subscribe, and of course watch the content that you've created. So we'll take that off the screen there for now. Just a very quick one on the other sort of Flybe bits of info. Simon Brackett says he was told that Dash 8s were stored badly in Wheeze. And they needed a lot of work, which some is being done in Exeter and in Malta.
All right, well. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think Flybe used to have their old. From what I remember, and I'm gutted I missed it, but I got invited to like an open day in the maintenance hangar, and I couldn't go because it was during the week and I was working and I couldn't get the day off. And it turned out to be the last one they did. We could go in and have a look at the maintenance and stuff. So I'm assuming that's probably what they're doing is they're having that old maintenance building to kind of continue to do some work on them.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne Hartshawn says that a Flybe Dash 8 parked up at Birmingham with the left-hand engine in bits today.
All right.
On a more positive note, Jack Rolls loves the sound of a Dash 8s. It's such a gorgeous old aircraft. They are very nice planes.
They are getting on, though.
They are definitely getting on.
There are a lot of airlines around the world that are struggling to find an aircraft to replace them.
But yeah. So that's why they're running them as long as they can.
Mm.
I don't think there is unless you go down the ATR route,
especially to the lower models, the smaller models of the Dash 8 is the ATR 42. There isn't much else out there that can replace them.
Not really. Simon Brackett also says 2 currently in the fleet have gone tech at the moment, which doesn't help their cause at the minute. But
No.
we'll see how they get on.
I mean, I severely hope that they get off the ground, but and back to where they used to be. But it's going to have to be on shorter routes, like from airports like Exeter and Southampton and Bournemouth and places like that. Because since they last went bust, airlines like Logan Air and EasyJet have just snapped up the routes. I mean, the long routes in the UK. I mean, even just a couple of weeks back, Ryanair started Stansted to Edinburgh. So, and they're offering that at £20 return. So, to compete.
Yes, church pews and all.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard.
Yes, yeah, it will be very difficult. Away from Flybe for the moment.
Yep.
Samuel Taylor Ackroyd says, question for Dom: what made you start making hotel reviews?
I like hotels. If it wasn't for hotels, I couldn't do what I do. But yeah, I'll quite like the business model of budget airlines, and if you transpose that into hotels like Premier Inn or Travelodge or Ibis Budget, those kind of hotels, it's a very similar business model. They take everything that's expensive about a hotel and then they make it cheaper. They take out a lot of the expensive parts, and yeah, so I just started making hotel reviews. Easy Hotel.
Yeah.
That is an upcoming video. Don't I won't spoil anything, but that is an upcoming video.
Good stuff.
We've got a couple in Scotland, one in Edinburgh, one in Glasgow. Easy Coffee is another one. Shop. They've got so many products now with EasyJet.
That's it, yeah. They're just trying to jump on every chain possible, aren't they?
Yeah, I think I've got a washing up liquid that's Easy branded. Yeah, it's mad the amount of stuff that they're in. They've got a gym as well, I think.
Yeah, easy liquid, easy gyms.
Yeah,
anything they can put their name on them. I'm sure they do. Yeah, David Bone saying that I wish Ryanair did Aberdeen to Stansted.
Was that, sorry?
He says that he wishes Ryanair did Aberdeen to Stansted.
Yeah, so do I. To fly on that would open up so much opportunity. I mean, not having to take a train to Edinburgh if I wanted to get to Stansted. Stansted is a massive hub, and yeah, to fly on a Ryanair's route network from there as well would be quite interesting. The interesting one that I'm finding with budget airlines though is Wizz Air. The bases that they're starting to build up in the UK. They've just opened their base at Cardiff, which is quite interesting, that they're aiming at sort of lesser airports to build their bases.
Yeah, I believe I'm going to quickly, because I'm sure I read something about it.
And they're also muscling in on Luton. They're treading on EasyJet's patch.
They are, yeah. They're putting their flag down.
Yeah. And I think, and I mentioned this in my Wizz Air video, they actually have the largest order book of any airline in Europe. Once they have their full orders in, they'll have well over 400 aircraft. I mean, and that's a huge jump compared to the 120, 130 that they have now.
That's through different divisions as well, isn't it? Because I think originally it was, I'm going to say, originally a Hungarian airline, then they had a Polish division, then they got a UK division, then they've got an Abu Dhabi division.
Yes, the Abu Dhabi one is quite interesting. I'm hoping to try and do a video to see how far I can get from one end of their route map to the other. So like from Iceland all the way over to Sri Lanka.
Rob Brown Plane Spotting says, but is there, going back off the EasyJet thing with the Easy Hotel and that, but is there easy chutney though for everything else there as well? Long-standing joke on the channel with chutney, but
all right, I don't know if any chutney is easy. Have you ever tried to make it?
No, I've never tried to make it. I know
I don't think any chutney is easy to make.
I'm sure Ian Hartley, if he's watching, he's a big fan of chutney. And he was the one that originally.
Not Branston pickle. Anybody that calls that chutney just needs telling of what real chutney is.
Just looking quickly on the internet here. Wizz Air are gonna. I mean, you mentioned about the Cardiff base. It says that they'll temporarily close their Cardiff base for the winter months, so it's not an all-year-round thing.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely treading on EasyJet's patches very, very, non-subtly. It's like we are literally going to challenge you for this.
Yeah, I mean, they've opened at Luton. They have opened or are opening as many routes as about EasyJet have got. It's yeah. I mean, you think EasyJet and Luton. If you were to name one airport that is associated with EasyJet, it's Luton.
Yeah. Yeah, because we all think about like TV programs and stuff from back in the day, like Airline, I think it was called back then.
Yeah, I'll say Come Fly With Me, but yeah, Airline. I think
Airline. I think everyone calls it the Come Fly With Me program, and I immediately
it was the theme song, wasn't it?
Yeah. Simon Brackett says, "Have you flown on an A380 yet?"
Have I flown an A380? No, I haven't, though my father has, and I booked the ticket, so I was
you missed out.
I was quite annoyed. That was Emirates out of Glasgow after they did the runway extension specifically for the A380.
Oh, dear. So you booked the tickets but couldn't even go?
Yep, I booked the tickets. I couldn't go. Because of work, so
I hope he was appreciative.
Yeah,
David Bone, with one of the comments of the evening, says you could start a budget short-term resting place in airport terminals called Easy Lay. Has a ring to it.
Easy Lay.
Careful. Behave yourself.
I think that has some connotations to it.
Yeah, behave yourself.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to see an Easy Lay in Amsterdam.
Although many people probably have. That's another story.
Yeah.
Rob Brown Plainspotting says, thoughts on low-cost carriers like EasyJet and Ryanair compared to legacy carriers like British Airways?
It's a good question. I mean, it's like, to me, it is personally like, do you want to have an expensive car or do you just want a cheap car that gets you where you want to go? An expensive car, you get heated seats, you get sat nav, you get all the mod cons. But a cheap car gets you the same place, but just without those things. I'm all for budget airlines. I think a lot of the issues that come with budget airlines is more people not understanding the business model of budget airlines, and let's be honest, not reading the terms and conditions when they book a ticket. People that have flown traditionally on British Airways, on Air France, Lufthansa, Aer Lingus, all these airlines, and then book on something like EasyJet or Ryanair, and then they go onto these airlines and they expect the same service. It's not the same service. It's a different business model altogether. You get a very cheap ticket because you're paying to get where you want to go. You're not paying for like a meal, a lie flat bed, a really comfy seat. You're just paying. It is. I mean, there's a reason it's called Airbus.
Yeah.
It's a bus in the air. There's a reason it's called Airbus.
Jack Rolls, I think, has missed out on a perfect opportunity, and I will explain why shortly. He says, British Airways, fine dining and good landing. Ryanair, you get whiskey thrown over you and more bumps than a rally race. I'd go with probably more bumps than a teenager's face.
I'm from Scotland. Getting whiskey thrown over you is sort of a rite of passage.
David Bone agreeing with what you've been saying. He says the perception of low-cost carriers is entirely down to expectations.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Couple of quick-fire questions I'm going to throw your way, Dom, and then we'll start sort of go into something a little bit different. So, very, very quickly, sort of your favorite aircraft to travel on.
Oh, favorite aircraft. I'm gonna be quite controversial here because a lot of people say sort of things like A350 or A380 or 747. I'm actually flying on one of those pretty soon. But my favorite aircraft to fly on is without a doubt the A220.
A220, good shout. Good shout. The worst aircraft you've been on?
Worst aircraft I've been on? Worst aircraft I've been on? That's quite a difficult one, actually. Quite a difficult one. There's not any aircraft that I've been on that I haven't liked just purely for the aircraft itself. I think it's more sort of experiences with airlines that have made an experience bad. Trying to think.
We can skip it. It's not a problem.
I think it, and again, a lot of people romanticize this aircraft, but it was one of my worst flights, and it was with Eastern, but it wasn't my Wick video. It was the Jetstream 41.
Ooh, okay. Interesting choice. I always thought they'd be quite comfortable, but
yeah, it was quite comfortable, but the lack of a toilet sort of made it terrible.
But they didn't go long haul then.
It was a flight from Aberdeen, I think it was to Southampton.
Oh, that's long enough. Yeah, long enough. Yeah. Especially to go to Southampton anyway.
Yeah, it was a flight to Southampton, and it was a stop off in Teesside, but they didn't let you off the aircraft.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was sort of that, it was years ago. I'm not sure if they still do them, where you stop and they refuel the aircraft and other passengers get off and other passengers get on. But if you're going on, you're not allowed to get off.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's like a coach.
Yeah. So I was Aberdeen, fine. By the time I got to Southampton, it was a case of I'm going to explode in a minute.
Yeah.
I need a bathroom on this aircraft.
Two final very quick fire questions. Your favorite airline?
Favorite airline? That's difficult. Very difficult. I don't actually have a favorite airline, I don't think. I've had some good flights with British Airways and Air Baltic and those kind of people, but I wouldn't say there's anything that shoves one straight to the top. I mean, I've flown with Emirates and the Middle Eastern carriers as well. Yeah, the service for what you pay is very similar. I think if somebody could offer a business class transatlantic for like £150 and offered you a lie flat bed and a full meal, then yeah, they would go to the top. Nobody's offering that anytime soon. I mean, the last one they tried to do that, Norwegian, they sort of went bust, didn't they?
Yes, we had the discussion quite a few times on here where we always find that those that try to do long haul from Gatwick in terms of trying to, low cost but long haul tend to go bust. Yeah. So
we'll need to see how Norse do.
I like the look of Norse, so I don't want to kind of disrespect them a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't want to disrespect them at all, really.
Yeah, I'm looking at getting on one of their aircraft, but yeah. We'll need to see how they do. They're pretty new. It's the same businessman, I think. That's
I found out it's literally the same airline, just under a different sort of wearing a different coat. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. So fingers crossed to them. And then lastly, without obviously any potential spoilers, what's to come on your channel in the future?
Well, I've got a 1 month trip over to the Indian subcontinent, so that's coming up that's booked for March, and that's actually where I'm taking a 747 to. It's Frankfurt to Bengaluru, I think they call it now.
Oh yes, yeah.
Now from Lufthansa, so we'll see how that goes.
Very nice indeed.
And then
Okie
I booked on a lot of the carriers over there, from Sri Lanka to India as well. So
that'd be good. Yeah, it'd be good. I mean, like I say, if anybody wants to keep up to date with that, do go and subscribe to Dom's channel, which is called NonStop Dom for now until he changes it.
For now. It will be put to a vote. I won't just change it unanimously. It will be put to a vote.
Put to a vote. Very good. But for now, we'll close that chapter of aviation, and because it got mentioned earlier, and because it seems to become a staple of the podcast that's purely aviation and travel related, we'll throw some food questions in there.
Oh, good.
Seems to be the way. So the first question that gets put in the chat about food will get answered, and will be tonight's question. So the first one that comes up will be asked and will be discussed. So I'm just going to wait and see if anybody puts it on.
Nervous when people put things to YouTube chats.
Well, we had for about 2 weeks running was pineapple on pizza, which was very highly controversial.
No.
But just very quickly, your take on that.
Several times, it's something that just does not happen.
Your take on pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
No.
Good stuff. Good answer.
I've got a friend who put pineapple on a burger in a recent meal out.
No, God no.
I just about lunged over the table. It was just like this slice of pineapple at the bottom of burger. It was just like, no.
Oh God, no. Get
that out of my sight.
Not good. Not good at all. Okay, we're not going to answer one. We've got a few in there. And it's actually to do with trips and stuff. So it kind of works out. Worst and best airline meal from Rob Brown Planespoint.
Worst and best airline meal. The best is actually the same airline, Emirates.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. When I first flew Emirates back in, I think it was 2011. I was quite young, but I was about 15, 16. The food was brilliant. It was, couldn't complain at all. I've taken them quite a few years since, and the food has got progressively worse.
Oh, dear. Okay. All right, that's fair enough.
I don't know what's happened within the company model. But my father just came back from Sri Lanka a year ago. He went business class, and he said the food was revolting. So
that does surprise me.
Meal was also on Emirates. But that being said, I think it has something to do with the menu, because sometimes the food is the best thing in the sky, and then other times it's like, what is this?
Yeah, that does. I must admit that does surprise me. Not surprised. Not many food questions that are coming, because normally it's all over the place. But obviously, not really in a food kind of mood. But Jack Rolls says turkey or gammon.
Turkey or gammon? Oh, gammon. If anybody from here has watched Still Game, you'll know the phrase, "What's wrong with a slice of gammon?" Absolutely nothing. That's what's wrong with it.
Samuel Taylor Ackroyd, I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you like your steak cooked?
Rare.
Because Jack Rolls says if it's still mooing, I ain't chewing. Very good.
Still mooing, I ain't chewing.
Yeah. Very good. Well, anyone who's a farmer, obviously keep an eye on your cows, just in case Jack's in the farm chewing on a cow that's potentially mooing.
I've seen a cow kick. That's pretty dangerous. I wouldn't try that.
I've now just got really weird images in my head of Jack just going around farms, just chewing on cows. It's a very weird how my mind works sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We'll leave the food chat for now until next week. But we'll sort of begin to wrap the show. Actually, no, we won't, because there's one little thing actually that I remembered that we were going to mention before. You mentioned before we went live about the I can't remember if you said it was like a charity.
Oh yes, the campaign for Northeast
campaign.
Rail.
That's the word I was thinking of. Yes. Do you want to talk a
Yeah,
little bit about the campaign?
Yeah. Anybody that's watching that likes a bit of rail, I would recommend that you sign the petition for the campaign for Northeast Rail. It is a campaign for the northeast of Scotland to help reinstate a lot of the rail lines that were cut back in the 60s and 70s by the beaching cuts. It's the largest area in the UK that isn't served properly by rail. So if anybody is willing to help out a campaign, I know Tom, you've done a lot of good work for the museums in Cornwall, for the work that you've done there, highlighting the tragic situation with that museum. But yeah, the campaign for Northeast Rail, they just got a feasibility study done. Well, they've got the funding for a feasibility study anyway. But yeah, dice to Ellen would be great. Absolutely, it would. I would say dice to Fraserburgh and Peterhead would be the best. But yeah, go sign the petition. Help get some proper rail infrastructure in the northeast of Scotland. It's badly needed.
If anyone's got a link to that, you got the link to that petition?
I do have the link to that. I'll put it in the comments after the show. If people can go and sign it, that would be great. It helps.
I will pin it. Yeah, I will pin it to the top of the show once we're done here. But yes, do sign it. Of course, petitions do help, and obviously a worthy cause, just like museums and everything else. So
yeah, preserving heritage and connecting people. You can't go wrong with those kind of things.
Can't go wrong at all. Right. Let's start to wrap up the show. So this is something that I completely forgot to tell you about, but because you've watched some of the episodes, I'm sure you'll know what's coming. So we do some shout outs, and we're going to jump into those now. This is part of the show where we show our appreciation for people, friends, family, loved ones, etc. And just by giving them a shout out. So if anybody in the chat has any shout outs, of course, get them into the chat. We'll then show them on screen as we do ours. Dom, I'm going to put you on the spot if you'd like to do yours.
Yeah, I would just like to say a shout out to Samuel, who got me on this show. Give a thumbs up in the comments. Well done. I would have known about it if you hadn't brought it up. I would also like to say a thank you. I can't speak. I would like to say a big shout out to my family and friends who actually got me into making trip reports. I wouldn't have done any of it without you guys. You know who you are.
Good stuff. Quick one from Jack Rolls, who actually paid money to tell this joke. What's a vampire's favorite cake? Battenberg. Poor shame, Jack. Not. Oh dear, it's gonna be one of them. Lynn Keeble is leaving us. She says she has to go, but thanks Tom and Dom. Really interesting. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching this evening. I'll do some very quick shout outs. First one to you, Dom, for joining us this evening. And of course, I totally forgot to tell you that it absolutely flies by very quickly. So you get going and then you don't realize that it's an hour and a half later. So
it's 9 o'clock. Time to get to the pub.
Yeah, I wish. But yeah, so thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you to everybody who has watched. So shout out to you lot, the moderators as well, of course, for another easy evening. A quick one here from MacJet TV Live Express. He's got to leave. He thanks Tom, Dom, and Tom. Apparently, there's 4 of us for a great show. Well, from the other Tom and Dom who are not here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here.
Someone's been on the beers already if they got double vision. But yes, the moderators for doing a great job, and of course everybody for watching as well. Next week, we are bringing back the old favourite of the show, Rate My Liveries, and we're going to be joined by Living at Large Aviation. I believe his first name is Paul.
Oh, I've got one.
This.
Rate My Liveries. I think you have a Condor joke going.
We do have a well, we've put it on the back burner for a while, but yeah, we have a sort of a running joke of things that look like Condor.
Yeah, I've got one for you. The Icelandic supermarket chain called Bonus, if you want to look that up.
Oh, you know I'm going to have to do this now. Hold on. Bonus, yeah?
Yep, Bonus as in bonus.
Bonus supermarket. Let's have a look. Oh, good God, it is as well. Wow. That's
up on the screen.
Let me just grab the picture. Hold on. I don't know what that means. Right, hold on. That's quite a shout. I completely forgot that we're doing that. Let's see if I can grab that picture just very quickly. I know it's God, there it is. It's not the best representation of the picture, but it kind of works. There you go. There's Bonus.
Yes,
that's bright yellow. Everyone is Rob Brown playing spot, and everyone is now tapping their keyboards furiously for a look. Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've been looking up your podcast in preparation.
Yeah, we haven't done that for a while. We're gonna have to bring that back, I think, as well as the food talk as well. But there you go, Bonus Icelandic supermarket.
Yep.
So yes, next week we will have. Good Lord, I should think of the name. His name's Paul. I should have known that, really. Living at Large Aviation will be picking 10 of his favourite liveries, and you lot will be savage enough to rate them out of 10. And I will pre-warn him about doing a Jack Rolls and picking a fantastic livery and rating it a 2 out of 10, despite the fact that you're supposed to love it. So, yes, interesting stuff. But yes, it should be a lot of fun next week, 7:30 p.m. Normal time, normal evening on a Sunday. So that'll do it for us. We are going to say our goodbyes. So, Dom, if you'd like to say goodbye to those that are watching.
Yes, thank you all for commenting and letting me know some feedback on my videos. I will try to make them better and better. I'm always trying to improve. So any feedback that you can provide is amazing. And thank you for Tom for having me on. Be happy to come back some point in the future.
100%.
I want to have more stories to tell.
Yeah. Once you've done a bit of traveling, yeah.
Quiet.
No, that's fine. Yeah, no, but we're more than happy to have you back on. That's for sure. But
anyway, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Safe travels. All that's left for me to say is thank you for watching, and I will see you next week for a bit of Rate My Liveries. It'd be interesting to see what comes up and what you rate them as well. So all that's left to say is thank you very much. Have a fantastic work week, and we'll see you next week for the next show, 85. Can't believe we're getting close to 100. Anyway, 7:30 next week. Take care, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye. I'm not prepared.